Well, you know, the U.S. is in stiff competition in a lot of ways with China, but now there's the claim that they do a better job of raising their children. And as you can expect, that has rankled some folks here in the U.S. There's a new book called The Battle Hymn of the Tiger Mother. And in it, Amy Chua, she is a Yale law professor. She's married to an American and has 2 daughters. She says that Chinese mothers are superior at raising smarter and more well-adjusted children in the end. It's a fascinating and heated debate that's going on. She initially had a very strict parenting style herself as a child and then passed that along to her children. At one point, she says that she called her daughter garbage and threatened to withhold food from her, from a 7-year-old, until she continued to play piano for hours. She says that turned out to be a positive experience for them both, and we'll explain. I'm joined by Dr. Robyn Silverman, who's a child and adolescent development specialist. You know, let's just go through some of the headlines here of the things that Amy Chua says she is not allowing her daughters to do. And if we could put up that full screen with some of this list. They're not allowed to have sleepovers. They're not allowed to get any grade lower than an A. No TV, no video games, no play dates, no school plays, because she says, you know, who wants your kid to be villager number 6 and waste their afternoon doing that? Which I thought was actually kind of funny. But what's your take on all this?
Well, I mean, it really all depends on how we define success. For Americans who are maybe a little bit more lax, we define success in a variety of different ways. It can be academic, it can be musical, but it can also be athletic. It can be public speaking. It could be anything. In that very strict Asian culture, as she's describing it, it's a little bit different. It's narrow.
Yeah, I just want to take people through a little bit, you know, the episode where she tells them her daughter cannot leave the piano until she masters this piece. It's an hours and hours thing. Keep in mind, her husband is an American. He's like, what are you doing? Right. You know, she says, you are not leaving. She tells her she can't eat. She's going to withhold all kinds of things from her for hours. Then finally, the daughter figures out how to play the piece, and she goes, Mommy, I got it. It was easy, she says to her mom. And her claim is that then she gains such a strong sense of satisfaction from having achieved it that it builds her confidence and helps her to go on to achieve more goals. It's kind of interesting.
Right. It's not saying that the way she's parenting was not producing results. We're saying that when you are so strict with your child that it may be not building them up, but rather tearing them down, and then for fear of not succeeding, they don't continue.
Right. Right. You know, she says, oh, American parents are basically, you know, tiptoeing around their kids, and that's a big mistake. She says, you know, you should look at your child and say, you know, you're fat, stop eating. She's like, that's what a Chinese mother would say. When you think about all of the things that we talk about in terms of self-esteem and everything, she says, you know, American kids don't have any better self-esteem for all of that than Chinese kids do.
Well, I mean, I've written an entire book on self-esteem and body image, so that kind of thing just gets really under my skin.
I'm sure it does.
We don't want anything that can be construed as abuse, and we don't want our children to be teared down like that. It's about how we help our children to build themselves up so that they can take on the challenges themselves without somebody over them saying, you have to do this right now.
I'm going to throw your dollhouse out in the street.
Exactly. You know, it's fear-based.
Well, you know, it's a fascinating debate. Cultures have a lot of differences, and this one is, I urge people to take a look at it, and we'd love for Amy Chua to come on and talk to us about this book, because she says she's actually changed some of her opinions on some of this.
That's right.
And she calls this a story of love and family.
And learning.
In her book, and learning. So very interesting stuff, a lot of provocative conversation. Doctor, thank you very much for being with us today. Good stuff.